All right. All right, folks. Off to a terrible start there. Something's wrong with the station's lagging. So I'm going to have to do this the old fashioned way. Hi-ya! Yes, gonna have to edit that bit out. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Fringe FM, coming at you live from the middle of nowhere, the center of everywhere, here once again to give you yet another scrumptious dose of conversational boogie. This is Shift Happens. Welcome. How you doing, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see all of you fine folks in the chat room, even you, Elf. What's up, Daryl? What's up, Deb? Good to see you. Says just got here from Mike's show. Right on. Sylvain, what's going on? All right. Hopefully, the station's not glitched up when it comes to commercials. We'll see. Might have to get a playlist going. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight it is Friday, November 17th, 2023, year of the Lord. And we've got a good show for you tonight. Indeed. It's the return of the one and only Mike Bara. And we'll get to him in just a few short minutes here. And also joining me tonight, sort of as a guest co-host, I guess, for the evening. He'll be hanging out with us for a bit. And we'll be doing the last segment of the show after Mike has to take off. And that's my good buddy Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. What's happening, Dave?
Hola, everybody. How's it going tonight?
Terrible. Just awful. And,
nice.
Yes. But, yeah, thanks for coming, man. And, yeah, I guess you just got done. You just quite literally flew across the country today.
Just landed in Charlotte an hour ago. Like, literally. My hands are tired. I'm just kidding. That's a dumb joke. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. But, no, yeah, that was a long trip. Long trip from California.
Yep, right on. And then you got to drive all the way back straight up from East Coast to West Coast.
Yep, start to drive tomorrow.
Right on. Oh, really? Just leaving tomorrow? You're not going to chill out there for a minute?
Just for tonight, and then I gotta get back on the road because I gotta pick up my daughter in Oklahoma.
Word. Right on.
Try to make it before Turkey Day.
Right on. And Pat's asking where Brad is. Yeah, about that. Yeah, we've actually. Yeah, that reminds me. We got to bring up something here. Man. But yeah, Brad's not here tonight. But I'm sure he's listening. Our good associate producer, Brad Harris. So yeah, real quick. All right, we'll bring Mike in here in just a second. But last thing before we do is I posted this on Twitter. I retweeted on Twitter. And hold on one second, folks. I got to do a thing here. So anyway, I posted this on Twitter, and I reposted it from Brad. It's probably a few posts back. And if you follow Brad on Twitter, which is he's at ADS Brad Harris, and so Michelle, his wife, had a pretty bad. I mean, about as bad as it gets. She hit her head really bad, and she suffered some very serious brain trauma. And she's, since then, she's been in the ICU. She's had multiple strokes over the last few weeks. They've had to, remove part of her skull to let the brain trauma do its thing, and for the swelling and all of that. She still can't talk. It's pretty rough, and we're trying to raise $50,000 to help cover the medical expenses. We're looking at a long journey of all kinds of physical therapy and all kinds of doctor's appointments and specialists. It's a long road to recovery here. So we need all the help. Brad really needs all the help they can get over there. He's got quite a lot on his shoulders as it is, and now all of this. Their family really needs our help. So they have a GoFundMe going on, and it's cool to see so many people have supported so far, and I feel like we could very hopefully hit that $50,000 mark. But yeah, if you can, either go on at Shift Happens Pod on Twitter. It's probably a few posts back. I retweeted his post, and then of course at ADS Brad Harris, you can. He's got it pinned on his Twitter as well, and link to the GoFundMe is there, so definitely go check that out, and please support anything you can, even if it's like literally 10 cents, just like anything you could chuck that way. This is would be much appreciated. So there you go, folks, and of course, whoever, whatever you pray to or believe in, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. They can use every bit of help, whether it's spiritually or financially and what have you. So, and we'll keep remind you guys of this and keep you posted as her recovery progresses. But thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate it. And all right, so with that, we'll do a quick shout out to one of our great sponsors here, the good folks over there at Got Hemp Extracts. Quite simply, makers of some of the best CBD products in the world. They use a nanoparticulate process, which just simply means your body's going to absorb it more than just about. There's like 2 other corporations doing the nanoparticulate process, and that's about it. It's just the best stuff out there, whether it's regular CBD oil, vape cartridges, pre-rolled CBD joints, coffee with CBD in it. It's all there. And if you use the promo code Shift Happens, you'll save yourself 10% off of your order. And that's GotHempExtracts.com, promo code Shift Happens. All right! And with that, we're going to go ahead and get to tonight's guest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since he's been on here, and he's back tonight for vengeance. Ladies and gentlemen, he's on TV. Mike Bara. What's happening, Mike?
Ain't not much, man. I was just actually, I'm on tonight. I'm on Shatner's show tonight, The Unexplained, which is pretty cool. I know you guys are just a radio show, right? You're not. There's no video that we're broadcasting, or is there?
No. It's just for us.
Okay. Well, But God, I just got to tell you, it just bugs the shit out of me how Skype flips my video. Oh, sorry, I forget. Can I swear on here or no?
Yeah, I mean, just no F-bombs
Try
for the
not
most
to.
part.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it just bugs the hell out of me, that it shifts my it shifts it makes me like left-handed, and I can't stand that. And I'm like, seriously, come on, just don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. It's just disorienting to see my little Star Trek Enterprise chevron on the wrong side of my on my shirt. I just don't like
Yep, I feel you there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I feel really lucky. Feel really lucky that I get to do this stuff. Because like I said, here I am, and tonight I'm on TV. I'm on Shatner's show. They're playing back the Mars episode, and it's really satisfying. It's really cool. And I know that, like, the Moon episode, I did the Moon episode, and I remember Jack Posobiec, who's a pretty big guy on Twitter, saying, wow, he watched the Moon episode. He's like, Shatner's show is really good. So I'm lucky. I'm not lucky. I'm good, but I feel grateful that I get to do this, and that I have this life like this where I get attention. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely good to be grateful. And you've got a cool life going on. That's for sure.
I just moved to Vegas. I got to interview Marina Sarin this week. She's a cutie, and she's really got tons of interesting information all the way from Spain.
Part of that.
And I'm gonna have to bring her to the U.S. because I want to get her in conferences over here because I think she's just fascinating. Her information is different than a lot of these secret space program people. It's very credible. She's very credible, and it's just really it's really cool to be able to do all these things that I think are so much fun for a living. And just have a life like this. The only thing I would like better is if I had a really successful Seahawks channel. That would be cool. Talk about football.
Yeah.
Get a little interaction. But I guess that's something I have to work on.
Well, so does that mean you have a Seahawks channel that's not successful, or have you not done it yet?
No. Actually, no. I'd love to be on. There's a guy named Rob Staten who I really think is one of the smartest guys out there about football and about the Seahawks. I'd love to be on his podcast once in a while. So that's what I'm working on. But I've been doing a lot of other things. I've been working for the Y-Files for a while, and that's really satisfying because that's such a great channel. By the way, I checked with AJ today. I did talk to AJ today, and he will not come on your podcast. So thought I'd let you. I told you he wouldn't, but I did ask. He's just very introverted, very, he turned down Coast to Coast who wanted to have him.
Yeah, I have yet to see him do any interview except for before the Y-Files. He was on Joe Rogan for a completely unrelated thing.
Yeah, and I know he knows Rogan, and his brother Gino knows Rogan. He feels, it's funny. He said he doesn't feel like he has anything to contribute to this this subject. Whether it's aliens or UFOs and cryptids and all that, but he does because the Y-Files contributes to it. Yeah. And I just think he doesn't. It's amazing how he doesn't recognize the impact that he's having on this Art Bell type community that we have. This coast to coast community. He's made a huge impact, and people want to know who he is, and they want to they want to get to know him and how he works and how he created this. And I think it's a fair story to tell, but he's not, he's, first of all, he's insanely busy, but secondly, he doesn't want that attention on himself, I don't think. So.
Yeah, and I would imagine part of the reason might also be, for one, he just doesn't want to do it. And then for two, because the way he puts himself out there in the Y-Files, he doesn't lean in any direction. He looks at the facts and lets the facts basically speak for themselves and applies science to all of the theories and just kind of lets it do its thing. He doesn't really put his personal opinion hardly ever in there, and I imagine, that's what people are going to ask him. What like, I've seen your episode on this and I've seen the research that you've dug up, but what do you think? And he probably doesn't want to have to, because once you start answering those questions, you're picking sides in a sense. And I would imagine he wants to stay.
He does have opinions, and he does have things he believes in, and he doesn't. And, sometimes he gets it wrong, but his commitment is to the truth. He will tell you what the truth is. Now, there are times when I would, if I could, have a pass at his episode before he put it out, I'd say, well, you might not want to say that because that's not actually true. Here's the counter arguments. He believes that there's such a thing as pareidolia, for instance, which I don't. It's not. It's been proven that it doesn't exist. It's a fake made-up term made up by the Skeptical Inquirer shitheads.
I'm right there.
But he believes it's real. He believes it's real. So it's like I have to have that discussion with him now and then. But he's an open-minded gentleman, and he's a super talented guy, and it's and Hecklefish is hilarious. I mean, let's face it, Hecklefish is absolutely freaking hilarious. And I feel bad because he's used a couple of my Hecklefish bits that were really funny, and he's made them better. He's the only guy I've ever worked with. When you write something, Brian, and you hand it to somebody, I've never written something and handed it to them and had it come back better until I met AJ. And it's like, he's like, well, give me a script on the Ark of the Covenant. So I did, and he improved it, and same thing with Solar Warden, and a couple of the others I felt like he didn't improve, but he added his touch to it. It's his show after all. But I've never experienced that before, where I've written something up and I give it to somebody and it comes back better. It's like, wow, that's a talent. So I just really appreciate being able to do that. And, I know that the idea that we faked the moon landings is bullshit. And I know that the idea that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landings is bullshit. And I wrote him a script and he used 60, 70% of it, maybe 80% of it. And now 3.3 million people who maybe had never heard of me before now get that it's bullshit. And it's BS. And that's an invaluable thing to be able to work with somebody with that kind of impact. TV stuff I do, the audiences are never that big. So it's great to sort of contribute to something that's got such a wide reach and keeps expanding, keeps getting big.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he, I know through you that you've been working on that show for a while, but I'm kind of surprised he doesn't really. I think he mentions you in like the live stream hangouts that he does, but I'm surprised he doesn't just full blown put your name in the credits on the episode, or at least mention you or something. You would think he would want to do that, not only for you, but also that would, because having his name associated with your name associated with him would also be a good look for him too. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think so, because I think he wants to remain independent. And although we're working together, or in a way, I guess I'm working for him when I produce this. Basically, I'm producing first draft scripts, and then he's going and finishing them off. And it's his show, but the IMDb credits do give me credit as co-writer. So that's all I really cared about in terms of credit for anything. And yeah, he brings it up in the live streams, and that I'm not that much of a attention whore that I need it. I just appreciate that he's getting the information out to a bunch of people who may not know about it. There's a bunch of people who probably never heard of the Face on Mars, and now there's 3.2 or 3.4 million people that know a lot of the story. And so I feel like through him, I'm reaching a new audience. So I don't have any, I'm completely grateful for everything.
Right on. And yeah, I've got to say, man, when it comes to any sort of, whether it's a radio show or a podcast or a TV show or document, when it comes to covering the types of stuff that we do here on this show and the kind of content that he does, he's the best. He's the best.
He's a great storyteller. Yeah, he's a great storyteller in a similar vein to the way Art Bell used to be. Art used to tell a story every night.
Yeah.
And that's what AJ does every Thursday. He he tells you another interesting story. And when I first started watching the show, I'm like, I got to find a way to connect with these guys, because he used me in clips. I mean, he would use me in clips of different episodes, like clips from Ancient Aliens or clips from the Moon episode and stuff. The Moon, not the Moon episode, but the Aliens on the Moon, The Truth Exposed. Give a little credit to Bob Kiviat there. So, I'm like, God, I'm there. He's using me and talking about stuff I know a lot about, and I thought, God, I could really help him with this. I could really help him with that information, because he got 90% of that right, but then that 5 or 10% he got wrong, and I could have helped him with that. And it was frustrating. But then they just said one night on one of the live streams, they said, we're looking for writers. So I said, okay, guess what? I think I can write. So I wrote him, and it was funny because it still took him a while to figure out. He didn't connect me, who I was communicating with him and his staff. He didn't connect me with the guy that he was using in the clips for a while. So that took a while, but then it all kind of came together. And it's a cultural phenomenon. It really is. It has a bigger audience than Ancient Aliens has ever had. Ancient Aliens does 800,000 people maybe a night, for a new episode, and probably less than that now because I'm not on it anymore. But I just started throwing that in there. But AJ's reaching 3 million people a night. And so it's like Ancient Aliens is a cultural phenomenon. When people talk about aliens, they talk about Ancient Aliens. And now the Y-Files is a cultural phenomenon. And it's sort of taken things to the next step and taken it way beyond the limitations of Ancient Aliens. And I've been lucky enough to be a part of 6 or 8 of the episodes so far, and got to talk about the things that I really want to talk about. And, that's just a great feeling. Absolutely great feeling to work with a guy who's so talented. Like I said, never ever given somebody something that I wrote and had it come back better before, I started sending stuff to him, and then it's like comes back, and I'm like, well, that's actually better. That's actually better. I didn't know this fact. I didn't know that fact. And he's an amazing miner of information. He could mine information. Like, where the hell did he find that? Because I've been looking for that for 10 years and never found it. So pretty amazing guy. I think he knows a lot about the deepest, darkest secrets of the web that I don't know how to get to.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Now, I was actually wondering, real quick, so regarding Ancient Aliens, now feel free to just pass on this question, but did you bail on the show? Creative differences, or any comment on why you're not doing that anymore?
One of the members of the cast is more than a little handsy. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And there was an incident in a bar that I'm not quite prepared to talk about yet. Now, if some people want to help me get on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan asks me the question, or even if the Y-Files podcast wants to have me on and do an interview, and AJ asks me directly, I will tell the story. But there were other issues. And I don't think my political stance helped either. Some of the people that are a little handsy are also a little bit far to the left. So I think
yeah, and it's obviously.
But I don't care. I mean, I'm onto something better. You know what? Like I said, my Kubrick episode that I majorly contributed to, did most of it. Most of my writing, I think, was mine on that one. It's reached 3 times the audience that an episode of Ancient Aliens could reach. So
for sure.
I'm happy and grateful about that.
For sure. And, of all of the individuals involved with that show, that particular unnamed individual was not one that I would have guessed was the handsy one. But, we'll wait for when that story comes out on Rogan.
I don't know. I've thought about writing an expose about the whole UFO community and what's on behind the scenes. I thought I'd call it like UFO, like UFEAUX, the French word, faux, fake, meaning fake. So, but I haven't done that yet. I don't know that I want to burn all those bridges. And the thing is too, is I have a couple of friends, people I like, that are still on the show. And if I talked about the circumstances behind what's really going on in the show, it might do it a lot of damage. In fact, it could even kill it. So I'm not sure I want to go there, because do I want to screw up their livelihoods when they're not guilty of anything, except continuing to be on the show. But that's okay. That's okay, because none of them really know what happened. The other members of the cast do not know what happened, but certainly the people at the network and people at the production company know exactly what happened.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Maybe I'll tell the story someday, or maybe someday I just won't care and I'll just.
Yeah, maybe like once Ancient Aliens is off the air, and if that ever happens, it's amazing how long that thing's gone, and it's
amazing how many times they can talk about the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I noticed. I haven't watched it in quite a while, but I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, I pulled it up. There's like a new season coming out on whatever streaming service I was on. I think it was on Amazon, and I noticed like the whole season was just, each episode was top 10 clips from previous episodes. Each episode was
doing that a lot.
I was like, wow, they literally ran out of things to talk about.
Well, it's funny because they're making these like hour and a half episodes, and they're like, I'll be in them, but there'll be like one interview from 2010 and one from 2014 and one from 2016, and it's like, it's funny. I look at myself and I go, okay, overweight, in love with a stripper, drinking too much, thinner, not in love with a stripper, drinking less, and so it's like I can see this in one episode, in two or clips that are only 2 or 3 minutes apart. I can see all these. I can see exactly how my life went, during these periods of time. It's pretty hilarious in some ways.
Yeah, I bet. And now, during the time, all that time that you were on that show, or even now, obviously it's based around the ancient astronaut theory, and however, not everybody on that show is particularly an ancient astronaut theorist. Graham Hancock, for example, has made a few appearances. There's all kinds of people. So do you consider yourself, did you, or do you still, or did you never consider yourself actually an ancient astronaut theorist, like to the definition, or is it more of a branch of that, or?
Oh yeah, because where I started was working with Richard C. Hoagland, where we were looking at ancient ruins on Mars and on the Moon, and if those things are artificial, and they all are, and I can prove that six ways from Sunday, and not even AJ would, by the time I got done giving AJ the presentation, he'd believe it all too. That's ancient astronauts. That's somebody visiting this solar system before mankind had the technology to do it. So yeah, I definitely am an ancient astronaut theorist. I'm just a specialist in the Moon and Mars and all the other parts of the solar system and all those things that, Hoagland was talking about, who I worked with when I first got started. And, Richard's not going to be with us forever, so somebody has to be there to pick up the mantle and move forward after that. So, yeah, absolutely, I consider myself that. And that's one thing about the sort of breakup with Ancient Aliens that's kind of sad, is that I've really kind of lost contact with people like Eric Von Daniken, who is a great guy and very smart and very dedicated. But, people are not going to be willing to go against the production company, go against their career best interests to take my side of anything. And it's just the way life is. You just got to accept that. But yeah, I miss some of those people like Von Daniken, who was the pioneer, really, for all of this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, cool dude, epic dude. And
yeah.
Now, and yeah, you've done, maybe we can do that one of these times we have you on here. Maybe we'll do one of our video shows, and I would love to get a Mike Bara presentation with images. Like I remember quite a while back you were on I guess another show we shall not name, but you had a lot of great images to go along with the conversation on Mars, and this was back like 2016. I'm sure you've got more ammunition on the Mars structures at this point. But yeah, it's really, like, yeah, think whatever you want about the face on Mars. Like, as interesting as that is, there's some other stuff that's pretty beyond. I mean, it's pretty obvious there was some structure. There was something going on up there.
Very advanced civilization. In fact, on my wall, I got a picture somebody sent me. It's a blow up of a Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter image of an area that I think I gave it the nickname Vatican City because it looks like St. Peter's Basilica. There's a dome, and I mean everything there. It's amazing, and it's indisputable. There's literally no geologist, no architect, no engineer who can argue this. It's a city, partially buried in the mud, city on Mars. And of course, the story of what happened to Mars and how this came to be buried ruins would make a fascinating Y-Files episode, by the way. But it's an amazing picture, and you can't argue with it. It's blatantly, flatly artificial. There's nothing you can say, not pareidolia, none of that crazy bullshit stuff. Sorry, BS stuff. Keep doing that.
It's all good.
You can't argue with it. And so it's really cool because there's a lot of more things we can go talk about. And people like Rami Bar-Ilan on Facebook and Martine Graney and some of the great people on some of the Facebook Mars groups, they're doing fantastic work. So I don't even have to do it anymore. I just have to say, what do you guys got? Glock on Mars. There you go. Oh, look, there's Masada on Mars. Oh, look, there's a pyramid. There's an obelisk. There's, these people do fantastic work to the point that I don't even need to anymore. I just cite them and say, but how many of these, Brian, how many of these do you need? I can tell you there was an ancient alien civilization on Mars purely from the face, just discussing the face. And there are literally now thousands of other areas and objects that are so blatantly artificial on Mars that it's off the hook. Off the hook. I mean, how many do you want? You want me to make my argument? Okay. Just tell me how many I have to come up with. 1,000? Okay. Piece of cake. Here's 1,000 different artificial things on the surface of Mars. And the rovers have seen tons of stuff in close up. Machine tools and piston heads and just mechanical stuff everywhere. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because I don't know a single person who is like a regular individual who is not associated with either NASA or a historian or anything like that, just regular everyday people. I've never met a person who's against the idea, like who is afraid of the idea of there being ancient aliens. Like, I don't know anybody that would not like to entertain that idea. It's only, NASA authorities and historians and what have you that and astrophysicists and whatnot, those in positions of educational authority, they're the only ones.
People who would lose money, status, or power if it were revealed and commonly accepted. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And only the people that would have money, status, or power to lose are against it. Because that's absolutely correct. That's just the way it is. And, people act like scientists and doctors aren't human. Like they're better than the rest of us because they're a scientist or a doctor. No, they got mortgage payments to make too. So they're going to fight you tooth and nail and lie about you and all the things that have been done to me over the years. And, that's another thing. And it's interesting because AJ occasionally gets on me a little bit about how harsh I am with people. But and I get that because his motto is be kind. And I think that's a big part of the reason of the success of this show.
Yeah.
Be kind to people. And it's okay to be kind. But again, he's sitting at ringside watching this fight, right? This punch out, whether it's an MMA fight or I prefer boxing by leaps and bounds, and it's like it's easy to be nice and forgiving and not take no prisoners because you're not the one standing in there getting punched in the face. So when you are the one, and that's what I've been doing. I've been in the boxing ring, or the octagon or whatever you want to call it, fighting it out for 20, 25 years. And no, I'm not going I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to let him off the hook. And when the truth comes out about all this, there's got to be consequences for lying to people. There's no justification for keeping the truth from the American people in the world. So just as a fair warning, somebody else better hold my hands back, because I'm going to punch you the first chance I get.
And I love how you said, I mean, I've never heard anybody else say before that it's okay to be kind.
But it ain't going to be me. That's not my job. My job is to fight with these guys, right? So I have a different job. And, I like sitting on the sidelines and commenting about things, but that's not the life path that I was born into. It's like, get out there and get the truth out. And if people want to fight you, fight them. The thing is, Brian, I'm not the first person to swing a punch generally at somebody. But if you take a swing at me, I'm punching you back.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking any prisoners. So.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things about you. Like, I guess some people get turned off about because you're very blunt about whatever it is, whether it's, arguing over evidence, or whether it's talking about a stripper, or like you just, you just go for it. There's no censoring. And by the way, just real quick, Deb keeps correcting me on saying your last name. Yeah, Deb, I asked Mike a very long time ago how to pronounce his name. He said it was Bara, but he said it's fine he says people say Bara all the time, and I decided to call him Bara anyway. Yeah. So
it looks like Bara. I mean, I've known George Norrie now for 12, 13, 14 years, and he still brings me on and calls me Mike Bara, and I'm okay, whatever. Yes, no problem, Mr. Norrie. So, that reminds me, I got to call George. I got to get on their Kennedy episode. When is 22nd? Is Wednesday. I got to get on that show. I got to talk to George.
Yeah, that'd be good. And
or I'll talk to Tom about it.
Now, real quick.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Brian. Wait a minute. What am I supposed to do? I mean, am I supposed to go through? Oh, well, I can't believe you would make a joke like that. I hear from usually it's older women, 40-ish, that get offended by me making a joke or a meme I might post on my Facebook or something. It's like, what am I supposed to? I'm single. Okay, I'm not married. Am I supposed to pretend like I don't like sex? I mean, that's ridiculous. Why do we go through life with all these stupid masks on? All I'm doing is saying what every guy is thinking. When I interviewed Marina Sarin this week. I don't know if you know who Marina is, but she's like a psychic and an experiencer, secret space program and stuff. I interviewed her. By the way, it's on my Facebook, it's on my Twitter, it's on my Instagram, it's on all my social media, it's on my 2 YouTube channels, it's on my Rumble channel, Real News Live. Fascinating interview, fascinating girl. But believe me, it's like I noticed she's attractive, okay? It's like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, act like she's not beautiful? Of course she's gorgeous. So, but everybody else would just pretend like, oh, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on your looks. No, it's not. In fact, she probably likes it. So, I mean, I'm just not that guy. I'm not going to pull punches, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm not. I don't like girls. Why should I do that? What's that got to do with anything? It's ridiculous.
Yep, I hear you there.
That's every other guy.
100%. Now, real quick, I mean, I'll I got to at least try to take a commercial break. But if if the network's all having a bad connection or whatever, then we'll just jump right back in. But we will see how this goes here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, Dave, we'll get to your question as soon as we get back. We'll get to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Shift Happens here for the Fringe FM. I'm your host, Gigi, and tonight our guest is Mike. Okay, I'll say it, Bara. And we'll be back here in just a few short commercially minutes. Maybe no commercials. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Donald. Thanks for visiting the Fringe FM studios. What brings you in?
I'm in the White House and I was lonely.
Welcome to the Fringe family. KTLK, the Fringe FM.
The Fringe FM presents Southern Sugarleaf. It's how the South does cannabis.
People, pets, and plants thrive alive.
I came to LA to make rock and roll. Along the way I had to sell my soul. I made some good friends that make me say I really want to be in LA. I took the 10 to get to Beverly.
All right. Yep. Something's wrong with the network, so we're just going to not do commercials. Sorry, Joe. That's just what's happening. So yeah, I guess we'll just have more time to talk then. Yeah. Welcome right back, ladies and gentlemen. Shift happens here for the Fringe FM. I'm your host, Gigi, and tonight our guest is Mike Bara, and also joining us is my buddy Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. And yeah, let's just jump right back into it. Dave had a question here. Yeah, go ahead and go for it, Dave.
Hey, Mike. It's not so much my question. I noticed it's a question that's in the Spreaker chat, and I think it's more of a comment. But it would be good to ask Mike. What do you know about use of nuclear weapons on Mars?
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up, because that when I did the Sidonia script for the Y-Files, AJ removed the last 25% of my script, and that's what he went with. He went with the nuclear war thing on Mars, and that's one of those things where I wish I'd get notes back, and I could talk to him about that, because that's not what happened. First of all, I know John Brandenburg really well, Dr. John Brandenburg, whose theory that is. I know him very well. I think we love each other. I certainly love him. I think he's a great, brilliant scientist, and he's found something that's important, but it's not what he thinks it is. What he thinks is that this xenon 129 that's found on Mars is because of nuclear explosions, because nuclear fission is how you get xenon 129. What he's not aware of, because I just haven't had a chance to brief him on it yet. What he's not aware of is that Mars is not a planet. It's a moon that used to orbit a massive, what they call super Earth, that are observed in other solar systems all over the place. And this super Earth, which has a lot of different names, Planet V, Planet 5, Phaeton, lots of different names. Actually, Mars was a moon of that planet. It was habitable. That planet exploded. And that's what devastated Mars. That's why Mars, half the atmosphere was ripped away. You have so many craters in the southern hemisphere from the spattering of this exploded planet that devastated the civilization that was there. And who knows how long ago? Hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, billion years ago, nobody knows. But the xenon 129 comes from that explosion. And what he also doesn't really know, and I don't think he's addressed in his book, because I do need to talk to him about that, is that planets can have naturally occurring fission chain reactions. And one of the things about these super Earths that's been speculated in some scientific papers is that they would tend to be very tectonically unstable. And those tectonic forces could slam enough uranium together to trigger a massive natural fission explosion. And once that chain reaction starts, planet is going to, 99% of it's going to vaporize, and the other 1% is going to splatter the hell out of the planet Mars, and I believe that's where it came from. The other alternative, which nobody wants to talk about, is that the planet 5 may not have exploded naturally. There might have been a war. And so there's other ways that you can get that Xenon 129, and they don't necessarily have to do with nuclear weapons being detonated on Mars. Now, having said that, if there was a war, then it opens up all kinds of other questions as well, like who was having the war, who was it between, and it's funny because there are sources in fiction, like some Jack Kirby comic books and stuff. And Kirby was very connected. He knew people at NASA. He knew von Braun. He knew Willie Ley. He knew a lot of important people. I think they fed him information. I think they fed him what the secret societies know about the origin of Mars. And that's why he put this stuff into his comic books. And in the comic book, Mars was inhabited by a race of gentle, peaceful, hyper-intelligent giants. Guess what? Anunnaki. And their machines, just like Battlestar Galactica or Dune, their machines turned on them and they got into a war with the machines, and they were forced to blow up their nearby planet that they were orbiting in order to save themselves. And all that stuff makes sense. So I really think the Xenon 129 comes from the explosion of the planet that Mars used to orbit. And Mars, that would explain a lot of stuff about Mars' orbit, why it's so eccentric, because it's not normalized yet from gravitational factors. So, there's just all kinds of interesting stuff about it. So we don't know the source exactly, but certainly it could very well be that there was an explosion of this other planet. We know because we can look at the fossilized signatures on Mars itself. We can, I think, prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mars was a tidal-locked orbiting moon of another very, very massive planet. That's where I think the Xenon 129 came from.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Long answer to a short question.
Great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. Now, real quick. Now, one thing I wanted to get to earlier when I was asking about, the ancient astronaut theory is so, like we pretty well established earlier, there's, all kinds of other reasons, but not to mention the artifacts we find everywhere. There's obviously somebody out there that has, whether they're building structures or whatever, they've been existing, they do exist, they will exist in other planets, other solar systems. There's life happening. But I do want to ask, what do you think about when it comes to megalithic structures that we find, whether it's the pyramids of Egypt or, Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman, any of those, the ones where we really don't understand, if we're being honest, we really don't know how they were built. Like, as far as the technology goes, like what technology was used, we don't, for the most part, we don't really know. However, do you apply the ancient astronaut? Like, do you think, that it was a result of the help of an alien species that those structures were built? Or do you think there was a kind of more like what Graham Hancock talks about, just being a lost chapter of history where they perhaps reached a level of technology that was just different than ours, or a combination of the two, or I don't know. What do you think about these megalithic structures we find here on Earth?
Yeah, I would go with a combination of the two, because I do think there was an advanced antediluvian civilization on this planet that probably had an extraterrestrial influence and knew a lot of things. And the other thing, too, is I wrote this book called The Choice in 2010, where I pointed out to everybody that as you move through different parts of space, and remember, everything is constantly in motion. I think we move thousands of miles per hour through space. This planet does. So the physical laws of the universe are alterable. they are different in different places. And what we've been passing through for the last 2,160 years is the occulted age of Pisces, where a lot of stuff was blocked. I think technology was different 10, 12, 13,000 years ago. And you could probably do things with vibration and sound and light that you can't do now because we're in a more darkened or blackened out part of space. Maybe a different density, you might call it. And that was a word that Marina used in our interview the other day. I thought it was a very interesting concept. And so they were able to do things, whereas we have to use tools and machines and lasers to do these kinds of things. They were able to do it with sounds, spelling, vibration. Who knows? What we might consider magic today is probably how they used to do things. And so they simply understood the laws of nature better than we did, and where they were in relation to, let's say, Vishnu's navel, the center of the galaxy, where I think all the energy in this galaxy emanates from, the massive singularity. I'm not going to say black hole because there's no evidence. Nobody's ever seen anything being sucked into a black hole, but we've seen these singularities pushing lots of energy out and matter out. So I think it's debatable what a black hole even is, to get slightly off the subject. So it's a combination of those two things. And, you forgot, too, there's other thing. I mean, David Hatcher Childress is constantly talking about, giant balls. He's finding these balls everywhere. There's these big granite balls. And look, there's balls in the ocean. And then here's balls in the jungle. And they're perfect balls. I don't know how you can make these balls. Literally, I sat through David give a presentation like that in Texas in April. There's these big giant balls. There's balls everywhere. And yeah, nobody knows what they're for. Nobody knows what they did. Nobody knows why they existed. Nobody knows how they made them. And all the erosion on them is in the last few thousand years. So what is the source of these balls? Gigi, tell me. I don't know. I don't know. Machu Picchu? Sorry, that's my David Hatcher impersonation. It's the best I can do.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I
think the Y-Files ought to bring back Space Panda, and they ought to let me do Space Panda's voice as David Hatcher Childress, like I just did.
That would be great.
Yeah, it'd be an acting job for me anyway, right?
Yeah, or maybe there could be a David Hatcher Childress talking plushie doll, and you could do the voice for that. But yeah, it is. It is interesting. So, have you been to many of these megalithic sites? Any notable ones that you've been to?
No, I am not the tramping around at Stonehenge kind of guy. I'd like to see Stonehenge someday. I'd like to see Egypt pyramids someday. But I am not going to take some one-lane road wrapping around a mountain that's only as wide as the bus. And if the bus driver makes one freaking little tiny mistake, 130 people fall to their deaths. No, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not the Machu Picchu guy. But I mean, some of the other places that are easier to get to, like the pyramids and Stonehenge, yeah, I'll probably go there. I mean, I can go crash at Hugh Newman's house, right? Doesn't they have a house right across the street from Stonehenge? I think he lives there, so that's convenience to me. I'm just not that interested because I believe these things are real, that they exist, that there is some ancient alien connection. But it's like I'm not going to discover, oh, look at these grooves. They're precisely 4.27 centimeters apart, and that's the exact diameter through a telescope of the star Sirius. That's not me. That's not my thing. I think it's important stuff to know, and I do comment on it and use it in my research, but that's not really my my main thing. Although I would also say those things are on my list, but they're just these old megaliths. They're old, and they're not. I don't think they're going to teach us much more than we already know. I would love to go to the Assyrian. Though the Assyrian in in Egypt is definitely something unusual because, you got the Wall of the Kings there, whatever it's called, Hall of the Kings, I think, that goes back 10,000 years, the pharaohs of Egypt. So you're looking at a history that was carved into a stone starting a long time ago. And that would be fun to see. But I would only go as a tourist and a sightseer. I don't think there's much research that I can glom out of that at this point. Now, you want to send me to Mars in a flying saucer, I'll be happy to do that for you.
Right. And and that's something I think what's also interesting, the megalithic structures themselves is one thing, but also the age of some of these sites are just constantly getting, a lot of them are getting pushed further and further back. And then you can even get into, like Michael Cramo type research, where he's pushing, there's archaeological finds, he's pushing back to, in some cases, millions of years ago, which is pretty incredible. And then, like recently I was, I think everybody's probably aware at this point, but the Easter Island heads statues. For a while, we thought they were just the heads in the ground, but those things go 20, 30 feet into the ground. And, either they were intentionally buried or those things have been there for a long time. And,
Easter Island, not to pimp the Y-Files again, but there is a Lemuria episode of the Y-Files where, that was like the tip of the continent of Lemuria that went down in a cataclysm, a global cataclysm. And it is possible they were buried by them, in mud and silt. But it does seem to me like those are probably buried, liberally buried, as was Göbekli Tepe and some of the other tepes that are up there in Turkey. And, again, Brian, it's fascinating because if you look at human history, people try to argue the flood is a myth. But if you look at human history, the oldest stuff is at the highest altitude. Human civilization starts, it's from the sky down. Right. Okay? It's not from the ground up. It's from the sky down. And that indicates that as the waters receded from the Great Flood, human civilization descended and expanded. And here we are today, 12, 13,000 years ago. Years since the last really big major event. So,
and there are some examples of, I quite forget the name of the exact name of the city, but out there in India, off the coast, not too far out, I talked with Michael Cramo about this specifically, but in the Vedas and the Puranas, they talk about this, what was thought to be this mythical city, but they gave a pretty, thorough description of where it was and what kind of structures were there, and but it was just chalked up to myth. And these independent, scuba diving, amateur archaeologists were trying to get funding to go diving and see if there actually was a city down there. The governments and the universities weren't buying into it; they didn't get any funding, and then they ended up they got some money together, went down there, and they found it. There's a city there.
Yeah. The Mahabharata, whatever they call their documents. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. And getting the cooperation of governments is very difficult because they all know the threat to stability if human history is rewritten. I saw some new pictures of the thaw on Mount Ararat last year. And there's a boat up there. There's a big wooden thing up there that's under the ice most of the time, but it was exposed last year. But the Turkish government won't let anybody go up there.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think that's Noah's Ark. Why? Why? Yeah. Why don't you let us go up there? And I think we're just waiting for the lid to be pulled off of this. And fortunately, we're living in the age of Aquarius. We're just coming into Aquarius. We're here, all of us, and I'm an Aquarius, by the way, ladies. We're just here all in the beginning of this amazing time where the apocalypse happens. The word apocalypse, I might remind you, means to lift the veil. That's all it means. The veil is being lifted, and that's going to cause all the dynamic change that we're experiencing. So I'm just hoping that they start letting us go up there and check these things out, because it sure looks to me like there's a boat matching pretty much the exact description of Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat. And the Bible says it landed in the mountains of Ararat. And there's a couple of other locations, the Darunapar site, which has the exact dimensions, biblical dimensions of the Ark. The geologists say, oh, no, it's not a boat. That's just a rocks. That's just a fossil. It's just accidental. So it may have been more than one Ark. But I'd sure like to find out.
Yeah, and go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to mention that to Mike, that there's a replica of Noah's Ark that's built in an amusement park. I think in Cincinnati somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Which is cool. And, that biblical description of it's kind of as a big rectangular box. And that's what this thing in these pictures looks like, And I'm like, let's go up there. Why are we not going up there? Why didn't we go up there as soon as the ice broke? Because humanity deserves to know the truth. And I will fight anybody who says we don't.
Right. And, it's never-endingly fascinating to me how, the educational authorities and the controllers of our world we find ourselves in, they very clearly do not want us to understand our true history. And whether it's ancient history or in some cases, I don't know,
recent history?
Yeah, there's an interesting
November 9th, 2020. Did I say that out loud? Yeah.
There's an interesting book. Micah Hanks actually turned me on to this book called Skepticism of Historical Knowledge. And this guy wrote it in the 60s or 70s. It's not even really a book. It's a bunch of published papers that kind of got put into a book. But it's a pretty interesting case. He makes that everything before this certain date in the 1700s, which just so happens to be the same year that the Freemasons split up into two groups, one of which became the Illuminati. If you're into that,
right?
Around that same time, he says all history that we're taught today, for the most part, is completely made up. Everything before that point in the 1700s, and makes a lot of interesting points about it.
Let me guess, 1789, but I don't know when in the 1700s that was. But there's so many things that aren't true about history, and that's a good question. Or a debatable point, I guess. Certainly there's a lot of things that aren't commonly known, like, the financial history of the United States and why the Revolutionary War really ended. We didn't defeat the British. We just made a deal with them. We made a business deal with them. And they secured our debt to the Rothschilds Bank of France, and we've been indebted to the Queen until Trump went there in 2017 and said, "You're out. We've paid your debt off. Here's your gold coin. Go away." So things are not at all what we've been taught, and I'm just hoping. I thought it would have happened by now, that we would have been told a lot of the truth about this stuff, but it still isn't. People still don't realize the United States government is a corporation that's actually bankrupt. So, and I don't know what it's going to take for people to figure that out, but I think it's going to be pretty dramatic when it happens.
Yeah, I figured that, a lot of this would have happened by now, but it's interesting. One thing that kind of seems to be a sign that the time is kind of coming quick is just look at all the desperate measures being pulled around the world by the powers that be. They're freaking out right now about all kinds of different situations in the world. And to me, it's like the more desperate they're getting is kind of a sign of we're getting closer to whichever situation it is, getting to the truth of that matter. And so it's almost in some ways, it's almost a good sign when they're freaking out. But
yeah,
But
Crypto
also
scares the hell out of them.
it'll get worse before it gets better. But we're gonna have to cross that bridge eventually.
What's that line from Star Wars? Princess Leia says to Moff Tarkin, she says, "The tighter you squeeze your grip, Tarkin, the more of us will slip through your fingers." And that is what we're seeing right now. And I mean, they just had several things. Some of it, they're attempting to keep Trump off the ballot in 20. Why would they do that if they thought they could beat him?
Right.
They wouldn't, and they know they're going to have to cheat massively, and it's going to be even more obvious than it was in 2020. And they could end up, at the tip of a pitchfork and a tiki torch. I mean, it's like, so yeah, they're getting desperate, and I think that you're right. They're going to accelerate everything in the next year, and I'm just hoping we can circumvent all this and just skip 2024. I'm just so tired of pretending that any of this is real. I'm tired of pretending that politics is real. Oh, a new poll came out showing Donald Trump ahead. Well, let me tell you something. He also won 2020 in a massive landslide. He probably won by 25 or 30 million votes. Everything else was fraud. It's like, why do we have to sit here and pretend like this election process is real? It's not. We already found that out in 2020 if we didn't know it already.
Yeah,
I'm just tired of pretending like it's real. And I'm tired of people who pretend that it's real so they can keep making a buck talking about politics or sports or whatever. It's getting I mean, even our sports are corrupt.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I mean, look at the Super Bowl last year. Nobody knows who would have won that game if the Eagles had one more chance. But the refs made damn sure the Eagles weren't going to get that chance. And believe me, somebody in Vegas or New York at the NFL offices made that call. So, even our bread and circuses, we can't count on anymore. So,
yeah,
I just think, look, maybe this is another analogy. The tighter they string that rubber band, the more it's going to hurt when it snaps. So my advice to them would be to back off, give up, surrender, and maybe, if you're lucky, we'll show you some mercy.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they're asking for a civil war, which, for all we know, that might be what they want to happen somewhere up the chain.
I think some of them do, for sure. Some of them do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's meantime, other things go forward. SpaceX is going to launch Starship tomorrow, and I'm thinking it's going to go this time. It's going to complete its test, and I don't know if it's going to go to orbit or not, but it'll certainly. I think they're getting closer and closer. And pretty soon, if somebody is a private citizen, you can't really control what they show people. Wow, wouldn't it be interesting if they went and landed on the moon in certain places and looked around? That would sure be interesting.
Absolutely. And real quick point on the voting situation, I just want to say out to folks, if you somebody that still, thinks the voting system is perfect and it works, two things you need to see. One, an old documentary from 2004 called Hacking Democracy.
Right.
Now, but for two, one that came out last year. This one just absolutely knocks it out of the park. It's called 2,000 Mules. Now, Mike, you already know what's going on. But for anybody that doesn't, I dare you to watch that documentary and tell me the voting system isn't rigged. I mean, they prove it scientifically, mathematically, with video. It's proven. It's done.
Well, they also, this is recent too, Brian. I talked about this on my own podcast tonight, my Friday Night Power Trio with Brooks Agnew and Blake Wally. And they now have cell phone data that the guys, you remember January 6th, right? Which I tried to tell us was an insurrection. Well, the video is now coming out and there was nothing, everything was peaceful and it's all BS. But there was also, people don't remember, there were pipe bombs placed at the Republican and Democratic headquarters in Washington, D.C. And I think that they were a backup plan. If there wasn't violence at the Capitol, they were going to blow up the DNC and the RNC with these pipe bombs. But they now have the cell phone data of the person who placed those pipe bombs. and they go back and forth with that same cell phone. The person who owned that cell phone goes back and forth and in and out of Department of Justice and FBI offices for days before and days after. That was an FBI employee that planted those bombs. That's how much of a lie everything is. And we just found that out really basically today. So everything's a lie, and the cell phone data is indisputable. And, when are people just going to say, this is the thing that the powers that be have to watch out for, which is the French Revolution, off with their heads. That's what's coming if they don't watch it. So, they think they can stop this shift towards global sovereignty, but they can't. That's what I wrote about in The Choice in 2010. I tried to tell everybody then, pay attention, because if you think you're going to manipulate this change to individuality, this shift in 2024, and that's when I called it, was 2024, you're wrong. And you're going to end up against the wall just the same as the guys who've been repressing things for 2,000 years. So don't try to replace one system of control with another system of control.
Yeah.
We're going to make a new world, and we're going to choose what it's going to be. We are going to choose, not them.
Yeah, I mean, that desperately needs to be the case, how much longer? I just can't imagine putting up with this much longer. Okay, so real quick, now I do want to get into this subject before you have to go, at least a little bit, and then I also want to get into what you've got in the pipeline as far as books and research you're working on right now. But real quick, so I did mention to you earlier the other day that I did want to get into a little bit of Operation High Jump, Admiral Richard Byrd talk. And we talked about this. We all kind of know the same information here, but still interested to get your take on this one particular thing. Now, I'm assuming most people, especially in our audience, know Operation High Jump and Admiral Richard Byrd. If you don't, basically, Richard Byrd's a guy, first person to officially explore the North Pole and South Pole, and was in charge of these missions out there to Antarctica, did a lot of exploration. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories that have come from this. Everything from Nazi bases to hollow Earth stuff to alien civilizations out there, both above and below the Earth down there in Antarctica. A whole wide range of conspiracy theories have arrived from this, especially if you take into account his alleged diary entries that were published by his son, although the validity of those actually being his journal entries are highly debated to this day. However, his son did die in a very bizarre, sketchy situation. But anyway, that part's for another day. Now, one thing in my research these last couple of years, I've been hitting this sort of slow realization that there's, I don't know, I'm getting more and more convinced that there are lands on this planet that we are not seeing on Google Earth, that are they're just simply not showing us there. And to go along with that, I'm still looking into this stuff, but to go along with that, here is a quick little sound clip of Richard Admiral Byrd during that famous TV interview from 1954, talking about, it's a quick 2-sentence thing, and it's an interesting couple statements he makes here. So here we go.
He's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing.
Okay, so there are two interesting statements he makes there. The first of which is not my focus, but to get it out of the way, a lot of people still debate this today about what he means by this. But he clearly says there's a area the size of the United States on beyond the South Pole, on the other side of the South Pole. Now, a lot of people, in other words, he didn't say.
I think he said from the United States, didn't he? So in other words, if you were to go south from the U.S., it's beyond the pole. You go past the South Pole, but on that parallel, whatever it is.
Right. So that's most likely what he's saying. But, there's a lot of people that say, oh, he's talking about another continent over there or whatever. So that's, we'll leave that there. That's not what I'm actually more interested in his first sentence. He says, not, when asked, is there more unexplored land out there? He says, not so much around the North Pole because it's getting overcrowded and they're finding that the land up there, he says, really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. Now, hold on. Wetland. There's no land up there. If you go on Google Earth right now, there is nothing at the North Pole. It's water. There's not even ice around the north as depicted. It's just water. But there should at least be some ice up there. But you know what there certainly isn't is that it's not on our maps is land. But what's interesting, and even if there was land, he's, really livable. That's quite different. Like in Antarctica, for example. Like, you wouldn't say it's really livable. You would say it's possible to live there if you have a very expensive and highly maintained research base. It's possible to live there. But no, he's saying really livable. So now, and he's talking about the North Pole here. Now, but what's interesting to me is on ancient maps that go back to 1500s and 1300s, those of which were based on even older source maps, some of these same maps, by the way, which depicted in great detail Antarctica before we ever even discovered it. We didn't discover it till the 1800s, right? But somehow they knew about it, and not only that, some of these maps detailed rivers and valleys and hills in Antarctica that were later, we've come to find out, that is actually an accurate description of the areas that were on the map, starting with when the Russians flew the LiDAR-like technology over there and got to see, the first time we got to see what would have been under the ice a long time ago. But that's also been confirmed again and again. So somehow they knew with striking accuracy what was down there in Antarctica. But on these exact same maps, they also always depict these 4 little mini continents around the North Pole that are not on our maps today. But, almost universally, ancient maps from hundreds of years ago all had this landmass depicted up there. It's not until the modern military-industrial complex of various countries have... If you look into the history of modern-day maps, it ties in the GPS system. It all ties back to military and military research that was done for the military, and that's where our maps come from today. And since they've taken control, those lands are no longer up at the North Pole. And so when you hear Richard Byrd say that there, it really, that's about the furthest description of what is shown on our maps there today. But that sounds exactly like what was on the ancient maps, though.
It does, and it's weird because he's implying that they're not covered with ice, that they're livable, that there's warm running water there, and that's makes you wonder about the whole poles and where does the heat come from, unless there's heat there that's coming from inside the Earth, like there are the speculated holes in the Earth there, so it could create a temperate zone right around the poles. That's a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that those continents, you could say, well, with the ice caps melting, then you're going to get maybe those islands got covered up, but the sea level really hasn't changed in the last 400 or 500 years. certainly hasn't changed since the 1940s when Byrd went on his expeditions to speak of. So he's not talking about islands, and I think that have been, washed under the sea. He's talking about lands that are there, that he investigated, that we are simply not being told about. Who knows who lives there? Who knows where they come from? Who knows if they weren't here on the earth before, but decided to get out of the way? Remember, you go back to Tolkien, you go back to The Lord of the Rings, right? And what was their depiction? Their depiction was that there were these different humanoid races on the earth. And this is about 12 or 13,000 years ago. But after this great conflict that took place, it was time for the age of man. It was time for the human beings to take over the earth, and everybody else retreated. And Tolkien always said Lord of the Rings was the true history of Europe. That was really what happened in Europe 10, 12,000 years ago. And maybe that's all true. Maybe there are elves and dwarves and golems and all these, hobbits, and maybe they all just went off and lived in these other lands where things are pretty nice. And who knows? Who knows? I think it's definitely worth questioning. Let's put it that way.
I think so. And then when you, like I said, when you really look into who controls what is put on maps and has controlled this for about 100 years, let's say they did find
the USGS.
Right.
The USGS. Right.
If they found a great big
of the military.
Right. And if they found a great big strategic piece of land out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, out in the middle of nowhere, they're probably not going to tell you about it. They're not going to tell and then and that,
especially if it was inhabited by elves and dwarves and hobbits and golems, and orcs. They'd probably go, I don't think we're going to talk to a lot of people about this.
And then and another one that happened recently was this about a year or two ago. Japan discovered, and this was in headlines on CNN and everything, Japan discovered 7,000 new islands they didn't know were there, which makes a total of 14,000 islands for the Japanese territory. Now, wait a minute. So, I mean, what do you mean you discovered? Exactly.
How do you not know that?
They said that. I mean, I've read every article on it. I mean, they just straight up said they discovered them. And that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're monitoring, whether it's satellites or in all kinds of technology. They can zoom down onto your porch and count how many cigarette butts are in your ashtray. How are they going to miss 7,000 islands?
They didn't discover them, Brian. They didn't discover them. They just decided to admit they were there.
And that's my point. That's my point. There's, just imagine what other land is out there that they're not admitting is there.
Well, and again, you go back to Antarctica and New Schwabenland and the inner Earth. And I mean, there's people that are experts in the inner Earth like Brooks. And, the Germans, this is interesting because we go back to von Daniken. When we used to do alien cons together, I would talk to Eric. Eric used to drink 3 bottles of wine a night.
Yowza.
He still drinks 3 bottles of wine a night, and very healthy guy in his 80s. Maybe that's the secret. And he was telling me stories, and he met a guy named Hermann Oberth, who was a German physicist and rocket expert, and his protege was Werner von Braun, who put men on the moon, right? And Eric used to own a hotel in, I think it was Austria. Was it Switzerland? And Hermann Oberth, in the 60s, stayed at his hotel. And Eric knew who he was and talked to him about his experiences. And not only did he say all of these German advancements in technology were because we got help from the people of other worlds, but he also said that there were worlds inside the Earth that could be accessed through South America and Antarctica. So those stories have been around for a long time because they're not stories. They're actually things that people used to know or knew but will not now admit. So if the veil ever really does come off all this stuff, man, I think we're going to be really freaked out when we find out what our world is really all about.
Yeah, I think, I think we're in for a big awakening. I mean, the way I kind of put it is, look at how most people today look back on like 300 or 400 years ago, like, oh, wow, they didn't know about germs. They thought the earth was flat, all this kind of stuff. And then compared to what we know today, it just seems silly.
Yeah, penicillin. Yeah.
And, but I have a feeling in about 200 or 300 years from now, they're going to look back on what we think our understanding of reality is like, wow, they're going to look at us just as dumb as we look at them 300 or 400 years ago.
Yeah. Weren't those guys a bunch of idiots? Yeah, exactly.
I think this place we find ourselves in there's a lot more going on than we could possibly know right now, and it's a lot stranger than we've ever really considered.
Yep.
And I really think so. Now, so real quick, what have you got? What have you got in the works right now? Anything? Any books coming up? And really, in general, what out of all the stuff that we can talk about and that you research, what's the most? We'll start with this. What is the number one sort of mystery for you right now that has captivated you more than any other subject right now? Like what are you looking into?
Well, it's the change in human thought. It's the shift in societal patterns. And I didn't give it a name in the choice back in 2010, but I now call it the global sovereignty movement. And it is the movement of human consciousness towards individual sovereignty and individual rights and my freedom of choice without interference or undue influence. And I think that's going to lead to every shift and every change that we're going to have. If we're ever going to make it to a Star Trek kind of world, we're going to need to have that be the first step. And I believe it's happening right now. I'm watching it evolve. And so I think the geopolitical events that take place in the next, let's say, year to year and a half are going to determine the future of the human race for about 1,000 years at a minimum. And so I'm watching that. And I have my feelings and thoughts and predictions based on the hyperdimensional physics and the planetary alignments and all that stuff as to what's going to happen. But that's what I'm watching. And that's why people say, oh, don't talk about politics, talk about aliens. Aliens are a political issue. They're a political issue. The revelation of alien visitation would be political. So it's all intertwined. And so I'm waiting to see if the bad guys get exposed and punished, and if the good guys step forward, and if the rest of us step up and take our rightful place in deciding and determining our own future. And that's pretty vague, but the bottom line is I'm waiting to see all of our financial and governmental control hierarchies and structures come crashing down. And when they come crashing down, it's an opportunity to remake them in thine own image, in what we want the future to be. And that's what I'm fascinated about, which I think is going to happen in relatively short order. So,
yeah,
it's kind of got to.
I was going to say it kind of has to.
If it doesn't, we're effed. So, notice I'm swearing less as the show goes on.
Yeah, well done. And so, do you have any specific books in the work that you're talking about yet, or?
No, I'm not working on anything. I was going to work on I was going to call it Ancient Aliens in the Deep State, but I haven't worked on it because I don't know how it ends. When you start a book, you have to know what the ending is. I don't know the ending yet, so I'm waiting to see. I did a book on Kennedy, on JFK, which I think is really an important work, and Ancient Aliens and JFK, and I'm waiting for the truth to come out about that. So there's steps that have to be taken before I do anything like that. I mean, right now I'm I'm enjoying, I've done some TV. I've been making my own content for, try to stay away from the YouTube channels, but on Rumble, I'm doing a little bit of Wi-Fi stuff on the side, and I feel very fulfilled by all that. And that's all I'm really interested in doing right now. I just did the interview with Marina, who I think is a fascinating person and has this fascinating story to tell. So I like bringing new people in that have different takes on things, because I think the old guard, in every sense, including in the UFO community, it's time to sort of sweep them aside and start bringing in the new ideas, because I think that the old guard has failed to explain adequately what's going on. And now they're looking to the government to tell us the truth, disclosure. I wouldn't believe a thing the government told me about aliens, because it's all going to be a lie. So anyway, I'm not working on anything. I'm just doing my shows, on various platforms. And I've done some stuff for Zohar Entertainment, for Zohar, their YouTube channel. A bunch of my lectures are going up there. Hopefully I'll do some more of those. We'll see. We shall see.
Right on. And speaking of lectures, so your sort of conference circuit has changed since we first met. You do a lot of different conferences that I don't go to, and vice versa. So what are the main ones you do?
I'm uninvited to anything Gaia is associated with, because Gaia, has pumped out fake alien mummies, which I've helped expose, and I'm very proud of that. And the thing is, Gigi, I don't care if I don't get invited to do this or don't get invited to do that, because I just stand in the truth. And then I'll create some new avenue to express myself. And that's what I've been doing. So, the old conference circuit, Conscious Life Expo, Robert Quicksilver's a little sawed-off tard. I don't care about that anymore. I just go wherever anybody's going to invite me to talk, I'll talk. I'll present stuff. And we're working on doing our own thing. I'd like to get something going here in Vegas in the spring. There's been 2 conferences here, one in September and one just last weekend, that haven't been very successful. And I don't think the model is good. So got to get a new model. I mean, I live here in Las Vegas now. I moved here, bought a place, super comfortable, super happy. And so we're going to try to bring a conference here that will be hopefully a lot more successful. Something like Contact in the Desert, but without the censorship. How about that? Without the censorship.
Yeah, that'd be great. And definitely looking forward to seeing that. Hey, what's up, Night Stalker? He says, do one in the Northeast. And
that's also another thing I'd like to do.
Yeah, because they definitely get the short end of the stick when it comes to these big conferences. None of them happen over there. And the ones that do happen over there are none of the people they want to see,
Yeah, well, I don't know who they want to see. Let us know. Let us know who you want to see.
And speaking of which, where is a good place for everybody to let you know that and just follow you in general, and where can they catch your shows?
MikeBara.blogspot.com is my blog, and I post the videos, usually 2-3 videos a week, live streams, and talk about issues that are going on, some UFO stuff, some geopolitical stuff. And then you can find me on Twitter at MikeBara333. And also I've got a Telegram channel, which is just Mike Bara on Telegram. And then there's Mike Bara Chat on Telegram. And I'm very active in there. And then, I use Instagram for just personal life stuff. I'm Mike Bara333, all one word, Mike Bara333 on Instagram. And I'm still on Facebook as Mike Bara. They haven't deleted me yet. They want to, but they haven't done it yet. And it would be a shame, because there's so many old pictures I have on there that I haven't kept. I would hate to lose that. But and then so basically Twitter and Telegram are my 2 big things. But you can also find me on Instagram. That's usually pictures of my cat and my dog and fun stuff like that. It's not as much UFO alien stuff. And then all my books are available, of course, on Amazon.com. And I'm happy to sign them, personalize them, drop me a line on Messenger, drop me a line on, not my email because I ignore my email for the most part. Drop me a line on social media. And if you buy a book, I'll just send you the address to ship it to, and then you can ship it here and I'll personalize it any way you want, send it on to you, mail it back. It's only like $2 or $3 to mail it back. So that's it. I'm all over the place actually.
Right on. Good deal. And yeah, it's cool that you're out in Vegas now. That does seem like that is where you would have moved. That makes sense to me.
I wanted to live someplace sunny and where there's lots of fun things to do, and this certainly qualifies.
Yeah. And
let me just tell you that the girls out here compared to Seattle, it's like, wow, Seattle is just all hippies, and it's not my vibe. And this is much more my vibe. I'm really enjoying myself. And it's also the entertainment industry. California is dying. California is going to die. Hollywood is going to be dead. And everybody in Hollywood's moving to either Texas or Vegas. And, a lot of them are coming to Vegas. So when it comes to producing new shows and documentaries and all that stuff, I think I'm living in the future Hollywood here. So that's important to me too. All we need is to build a major studio here, and we're up and running.
Right on. And all right, and last question, because I know you got to go. So what are you doing on the video game front these days? You still playing Panzer Corps, or?
Yeah. I play Panzer Corps. Panzer Corps is great because it challenges my strategic thinking, and I just decided, well, I'm going to start recording each one of these scenarios, and there's hundreds of them, and I just put them up on one of my YouTube channels. I think it's Mike Bara 3. I put them up on that.
Nice.
Funny you mentioned that. And then I'm playing the new Alex Jones video game. Have you seen the Alex Jones game?
No, I haven't even heard of that.
Oh yeah, go to alexjones.com. And he's got a new video game, and I'm playing on my phone. It's hilarious. It's, shooting up Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Anthony Fauci, kills the rainbow frogs, the gay rainbow frogs with his machine gun. It's hilarious.
That is classic.
You're gonna die, Gates. You're gonna get it right in the nose. So, and Fauci, George.
You got to play that.
Fights George Soros. It's hilarious. So,
Gigi, you got to play that soundbite for Mike. I'll eat your ass.
Oh yes, we actually do. We found this great bit of technology that allows us to, how you can get an emulator for any console ever made, and you can just run it on your computer. Yeah. But we found this program where we can. You can just get on from your house, you connect to my computer. My computer thinks that you're sitting right here with your controller plugged in. And we can play local multiplayer stuff with any console for any game ever made. But we do it online. It's truly amazing, and nobody really knows about it yet. And there's no lag, no input lag, no nothing. It's perfect. And
wow.
So, yeah, I don't know if you get into retro games much, old school, Sega,
well,
Nintendo.
I love old school games, but I'm more in strategy. My reflexes aren't what they used to be, but I would really like to get Dune 2000. That was fun, and play my brother and crush him. I'd make him be the Baron Harkonnen, and I will defeat him for control of Arrakis. That would be fun. Nice. Yeah, sounds good. Let me know about that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can. It'd be cool to get you on one of the game streams, and we have this. We do it on Twitch, and we have these sound alerts. People can click a button, and we have a bunch of audio clips loaded up. We have a bunch of clips of Alex Jones saying ridiculous things.
Let's do that. Let's work on getting Amaranth and Sweet Anita on those streams as well. Let's get them.
All right. Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and surprisingly, the audience really likes it too. And that's kind of like our new thing. We still do these shows.
Okay, well, I will suck at it, but go ahead and invite me. I'd love to come.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But all right, Mike, thanks again for coming on, and have a good one, my friend, and we'll definitely have you back on here sooner than later.
Yeah, you and Dave go, and great here to be with you guys, and I forget the poor girl's name, but best wishes to her and prayers for healing. So hope she gets better.
All right, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
it. All right. See you, Mike. All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Bara. We got about 15 minutes left here. We could do... I'm just now seeing some questions. The classic rocker question. No, he's already gone. Sorry, buddy. But what we could do is we could open up the phone line real quick if anybody wants to call in and hang out for about 10 minutes. And the call-in number is 928-208-4464. Again, that's 928-208-4464. And I'm putting that in the chat room there as well. Feel free to call in if you want to hang out with me and Dave for a little bit. And there you go. And but if you guys haven't checked out our video game streams, just follow us. Usually it's at least me and Jess Rogie from the Rogie Report, or what's her Escape the Simulation is her show now. We'll be back on Sunday. And then sometimes we do some 4-player stuff. The last one we had Dave here, and JP joined me and Jess and got some 4-player Sonic party going on. That was pretty cool. And we do that over there on Twitch on Sunday nights and sometimes on Wednesday or Thursday. But follow us on Twitter. You guys know where to follow us, all of you here in the chat room. But if you don't, you can follow me, the Shift Happens account over at Shift Happens Pod. And all the other social media links are at shifthappensradio.com. And if you want us to play a game, if you have a game request, I mean any system, whether it's N64, Dreamcast, Sega Genesis, you name it. We can get that game, get it working, and we're always open to game requests, and we still have a few to get to actually from the request list, so we'll be doing that. But I guess you're going to be. It's probably going to take you a couple, 2 or 3 days to get home, huh, Dave?
Looking to probably get there before Thanksgiving, though. So that'll be nice to spend with the family. We'll definitely be back there by next week. And then I start a new job, so I'll be busy Monday through Friday. But if we can ever do a game on Saturday night or something like that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, me and Dave were talking about. Whenever we're not doing a Midnight Blend or a Pulp Addicts Pod, we'll probably start doing some game streams on Saturday nights as well. That'll be fun. But real quick, we got a caller on the line here. Area code 917. Who are you?
Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm muted.
Yep, loud and clear. What's up, Daryl?
Oh, cool.
Or is that
Hey, how you doing?
That's Daryl.
Great show. Hi, Dave. Hi, Gigi.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
That was a great show. Very interesting. I was just calling. Hello?
Yeah, you're still here.
Oh, okay. I was just calling about the thing you mentioned about Japan finding all those islands. They just found. Did you see that thing they just found in this pyramid in Japan? And this huge monolith that is bigger than any monolith ever found anywhere on the planet. It was much bigger, and it's under the water. It's huge.
Really?
And I don't think it's not the one we know about. There was one we knew about and one we don't know about. There's a huge. I just wonder where I saw it. I'm trying to find it now. But I thought, wow, that is really, really cool.
There was one out there for years. Yeah.
Well, they tried to deny one of them. They said, "Oh, that's natural," and none of that is natural. It's obviously man-made. But this one, there's no denying. There's huge platforms and these huge, I don't know. I can't tell you the size, but they were much larger than anything ever found on any other line. And it's all underneath the water, deep underwater. You can't see it unless you scuba dive. You can't see it from anywhere, but if you're underwater, It's really
so
cool.
There's one that's been out there. They call it Japan's Atlantis, and it's called the Yonaguni Monument. And it's been around since the 1980s. So you're saying there's a new one?
There's a new one. I just saw it. I don't remember where. I saw it like today, and I don't remember where. I don't know. Was
Maybe
it
on
an
Twitter?
article? No, it wasn't Twitter. I don't know if it was in my phone.
Did they say? Now, although you saw it today, did the video or article or whatever it was? Did they mention when it was found? Like, did they just find it themselves?
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's something that happened in the last 24 hours, because it felt like it was very current. Wait a minute, where did I see that? Could it have been YouTube? It's possible. Now I can't find anything on a search anymore. You can't find anything on search engines. Remember when you used to get hits, on what you were looking for?
Yeah.
I remember those days. That was really awesome, Pyramid off the coast of Japan. Let's see if that's it.
Yeah, I just watched
it looks like it was totally.
But yeah, there's definitely something going on with the search engines, and Edward Snowden was just talking about this a couple months ago. Yeah, they've like, if you're trying to look up a recipe on how to cook a steak, you can find that. But when it comes to finding any real information about something important, you're just not going to get it. Yeah,
it's certainly bury the stuff I'm interested in. It's crazy. The stuff I like to research, I can't find anything. I have to. And you don't even get those options, like, how you used to have, like, those Google pages, like, you have, like, a million hits, and then you could go to, like, page 365. You don't even have that anymore. They, like, give you just A, B, C, D. I don't know. What happened? They bury it. They bury everything.
Yeah. Well, there's one trick. A lot of folks don't know this, but you can use it on pretty much any search engine, whether it's Google or if you want better search results, like more I don't know if better is the right word, but more like true search results, not censored results.
Right.
You should try using either the DuckDuckGo browser is better, but even better than that, though, is one called the Brave browser.
I saw the Brave. It looked exactly like Google, like Google Chrome. Suspiciously like Google, right?
Well, they did it that way so that people, so that they feel, they're accustomed to how it looks and operates. Right. Kind of like how a lot of people, they don't like watching Twitch just because they're not used to it, even though it's the same thing as YouTube. Like they wanted to make it very familiar.
I see, because it took my bookmarks from Google. I mean, it looked identical, and it was so identical. I thought, is this Google Lite or something like that? Google, get a Google. I don't know.
But also,
I don't know. It just seemed very similar. Yeah.
But for any search engine, even when you're using Google, you can narrow down what you're looking for if you put quotations around the term or word for what you're looking for. It actually looks specifically for those letters put together and in that order.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, you have to if you put the quotations, that's the only way they'll specifically look for it. I see. I never really learned those shortcuts by heart. Yeah, those are good shortcuts, though. That's true. And there's other things like this. I forget, like parentheses or question marks. I don't know. I have to look those up.
Yeah, there's a few tricks out there, and I didn't even know about the quotations until about 5 or 10 years. Probably about 8 years ago. I learned that when I was at the Art Institute. But I wish I would have known that before then. But if you're having a hard time finding something, put what you're looking for in quotations, and it will specifically look for that.
All right, well, I'll keep you up to date. I'll keep searching. It's going to come to me. Maybe I could look in history,
Yeah, if you find that link, definitely send it to me.
Definitely. I'm like, damn, that's so cool. And I don't think it was this old one, because I know about the old one. But this doesn't look like the old one at all. It kind of looked like a little like Tiwanaku, like big platforms and big foundations, huge foundations. They were all cut angles, no mortar, and one of the biggest tons of rock they've ever seen, and they don't know where it came from. Really interesting stuff. I love that. So yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for it. I was like definitely interested in it. It was so cool.
Right
we
on.
Had, people took pictures of each other scuba diving in it. You know.
Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder, you know. You gotta
Nice.
wonder what happened to the Earth. Like, did we get hit by a monster, like, you know, like a big meteor or something that really knocked us off our axis and covered half the world with water? I mean, just really did some damage. I saw something on YouTube where they did a simulation of like something like the size of the moon hitting Earth. Oh my God, that looked bad. It really, really bad, you know, if something like that had happened.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's such an amazing project.
I mean, it's kind of amazing that it's kind of a miracle, really, that not more has catastrophic events have happened since we cross through the Taurine meteor stream twice a year, and that's like walking blindfolded across a highway. You know,
right?
It's.
I think it's remarkable. I just think we have that much water on the planet that they all fall in the ocean. We don't even know about it, most of them. You know, we're just lucky that we're such a water-bound planet. The ocean sucks most of that stuff up. But even still, I don't even know. You know, if it's that big of an object, it would definitely make some kind of a tidal wave or something, you know?
Right.
It would hit land eventually. But I think we don't even know half the ones that hit land because they're going to wind up somewhere that's not inhabited, luckily, you know?
Nope.
Luckily. But I like them. I like watching the meteor storms, but then you got to wonder that one day that pretty meteor storm could turn into something very dangerous. We used to watch them over New York Harbor. You know, you'd see like almost shooting stars across the water. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you know.
Yeah, and I'm actually curious because you're still out there in New York, are you?
Yeah.
So how is the? Because, like, you know, I just went to Pensacola, Florida for a little vacation a few weeks ago, and when I went out there, I was just hanging out at night having a smoke, and I could see the stars. I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I missed looking at the stars, because here in Houston, and same in Austin, where I was at for the last couple of years, but now in Houston, you literally can't see any stars. The only thing you can see is the moon, and you can see Venus whenever that's in the sky. You can see that, but that's it. You can't see any other stars. How is it over there where you live? Are you able to see some stars?
Not really, no. You can see the moon occasionally, and then, but who goes out at night anymore? It's not like it used to be. You used to go out at night. People don't go out at night. People don't go out, period. You know what I mean? People are so accustomed to being at home, you know, in kind of quarantine, you know. So it's just slowly but surely people are getting out and about. But I don't go out at night anymore. Try to do everything in the daylight, especially with the daylight savings. New York got a little weird, you know. It's not what it used to be. Everybody that was interesting left. All the good businesses are closed. Left and right is like, you know, your favorite restaurant, your favorite store, your favorite this, it's all gone. Really sad, you know, what's happening to the city. Whatever reason. The politics is not in favor of a lot of people lately, you know. People are leaving. They're all moving to Florida. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida's clean, you know. They have a good environment, most of it. I don't know if they have the polluters like we have up in the Northeast. But you can see the stars at night because it's clean, you know, the air is clean.
Yeah.
You don't have any pollution.
And but it's interesting because
pretty nice here in South Carolina.
Yeah, I bet. And yeah, and it's because I mean, back about 12 years ago, me and a buddy of mine on the other side of Houston, we were a little northeast of Houston in this forest town. So I guess we're a little bit away, but man, we would bust out lawn chairs and stay up all night from like when it got dark to like 5 a.m. We would just look for UFOs all night throughout the summer, and we'd play guitar and just write songs and look at the stars and but yeah, there's nothing of that to do where I am here. Like you can't, there's nothing to look at.
If you're in a city, you got all that smog from the cars, exhaust and stuff. I don't know why we don't have great visibility on a clean night. And we've had so much smoke, this year with the Canadian fires. Oh my God, you should have seen New York that day. Oh my God, it was so bad. I mean, it was the alerts go up to like red. I remember like seeing, the different alerts. I mean, red is like you're dead already, it's just too late. And we were like beyond the red. It was so bad. It was like yellow, orange, red. I mean, you don't want to go into the red. You couldn't see anything. The sky was orange. It was orange red. It was really bad. The smoke, it was like as if we were on fire,
Yeah.
It's crazy. And what was up with that? That was unbelievable. Who started these fires?
Yeah.
Really devastating fires, and too many of them, too many at the same time, and very curious how certain things burn and certain don't. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
selective fire.
There is plenty of effery around some of these fires. I mean, the ones that happened in Canada earlier this year, just quite widespread across Canada. I mean, if you look at the actual, I'm not sure if it's from I guess it was from satellite video. These weather watcher guys, the independent ones were, saw multiple videos of the fires starting, and it was literally, I mean, all of the different locations, they all started at the exact same time. It didn't spread at all. The whole west side of Canada just got lit up, like as if there was like 30 different fires started all at the exact same time. I mean, it's pretty
hard. At the exact same time? That's really strange.
Yeah, like the exact same time. Yeah, like all on the same day within like the same period of about 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah. It didn't spread like they were saying.
That is very unusual. Unless, you really have some kind of organized conspiracy. At 3 o'clock, go. You have your group of arsonists, your little arsonist club.
Yeah, I mean,
Friday, July.
I'm thinking it was probably, they must have used some sort of directed energy, whether from us, they're probably hitting it with something from above. But who knows? Maybe they do have people just running out there throwing cigarettes on the ground or something. I don't know.
Right?
But
that's what I'm saying. We don't even need nukes. We have much more sophisticated weapons that we could do from outer space even. You don't need a nuclear weapon to launch a rocket. That's so primitive. The new technology. And the scary stuff is even, like the antimatter. I don't even want to talk about that. It's really scary. Like David Adair was talking about in one of his seminars. And he said you could blow off half a continent and wind up blowing the earth into outer space. Blow up like a whole city. Just make it disappear. Weren't you talking about that? That someone made a plane disappear recently?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Somebody. I'm getting to.
But we do have to. We got to go ahead and wrap up the show, though, Daryl. So.
Okay.
But
got a hot karaoke tonight. If you're interested, I'll send you the link. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, I can't. My living situation right now doesn't really permit that most of the time. But next time I do have the house for myself, I'll definitely.
Sounds like fun.
People go in their cars to sing when they're, whoever in the house is sleeping. They go into their cars and they sing with their cell phone.
Ah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I could do that.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, everyone would love to see you. It would be so awesome if you showed up.
All right. Yeah, I don't know about tonight, but yeah, maybe sometime soon.
Tonight,
what an amazing original idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do miss doing those karaoke nights, though. I do love doing that.
Oh,
It was a lot of fun.
We miss you too. Definitely miss having you. People always ask for you, So you get a warm welcome. Tonight's a really hot night. Tonight's my favorite night, actually. I don't even pick my songs. Somebody picks them for me. I don't even know what I'm going to sing till it's right in front of me. It's very nice. I get very lazy that way. It's only once a week now.
Oh, okay.
And I've had like 500 new songs since I saw you last. I don't know how many songs I had when I saw you. I have over 500 now. I'll tell you how I got them.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely keep me posted. And yeah, if you find a link to that monolith in Japan, definitely send that my way. And with that, thanks for calling in, Daryl. Appreciate you.
Great show. Nice talking to you, Gigi. Bye.
All right. Have a good one. All right. And with that, folks, Dave, any want to let people know where they can catch up with you and follow your show and all that good stuff?
I'd say just for the show, just definitely go to beyondstrange.com and just browse around. Trying to update the Spreaker now because the show's going to go to Spreaker. It's not going to be video, live video, anyways. Video portions will be uploaded to Rumble, but yeah, I'm going to come back to Spreaker also, and of course, eTalk. But it's going to be a while because I got to get situated and stuff. So it's probably going to take the rest of the holidays off. So the show'll start back up in January, though.
All right. Right on.
And also, you can follow me on Twitter at Dave70Cruz, CRUZ. So there you go.
All right. There you go, folks. Good deal. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. And yeah, for those of you that tuned in late, and if you're going to go back and what you should do, this is a good show with Mike Bara tonight. Do keep in mind, as soon as I end this show, I'm going to have to go back and edit out that garbled up audio that we had at the beginning. So there might be a little, period of a few minutes where the episode might disappear or something. But so yeah, keep that in mind. But anyway, yeah, that should be all fixed within about 10 or 20 minutes. So, all right, thanks for hanging out, everybody. And again, quick reminder to help out with our associate producer, Brad, and his wife, Michelle, who's suffered the most serious brain trauma you really could have. She's been in the ICU since last month. They've had to remove part of her skull to let her brain do its thing. She hasn't been able to talk. She's suffered multiple strokes. It's very intense, and we're trying to raise as much money as we can, trying to get to $50,000 for her medical bills. We're already about halfway there, I believe, and we really appreciate your support. And if you can throw anything their way, we'd appreciate it. I retweeted it on Twitter, or X rather, and you can find that at Shift Happens Pod. It's a few posts back, or you can hit up Brad's Twitter at ADS Brad Harris, and he's got that pinned there on his Twitter profile, the link to the GoFundMe. All right, and with that, thanks again to Mike. Great show tonight. Thanks again to Dave, and thanks to all of you for tuning in and listening. And with that, we're going to go ahead and boogie on out of here. And don't forget, video game stream Sunday night. Follow on Twitter for the links to that with me and Jess Rogie. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Shift Happens here for the Fringe FM. This show is hosted and produced by yours truly, Gigi. You can follow me, again, on Twitter at ShiftHappensPod for the show, and you can follow me personally at GGRabbit1. Associate producer is Brad Harris. Again, follow him on Twitter at ADSBradHarris. And as always, all blames and faults go to Fran. That's right. Hashtag Fran's fault. Alright, guys. I'm about to edit this episode and play me some video games, my friend. Have a great rest of your weekend. If we don't see you on Sunday, we will see you next Friday right here on Shift Happens. Alright, folks. Bye-bye.
Hasta.